Hey guys, welcome back. It's a beautiful day here in Atlanta. It's 75-ish degrees, which it won't be for long. It's going to get hot. So I decided to make a video outside. Today I wanted to talk about recipe versus technique and what I think is more important. So I worked a big charity event. It's called Taste of the Nation. It's something we do every year in Atlanta. It supports the No Kid Hungry campaign. So it's something I like to be a part of, stuff like that. But inevitably, when I make a cocktail for an event like that, I have people ask me, how'd you make this? What's the recipe? So it's a question that's difficult to answer in the context of what they're asking me, because mainly because there's so much technique that goes into how we're making these drinks that I can't just write down a recipe, right? I think that maybe if you're making a cocktail that only comes out of a bottle, whether it be something like a Vieux Carré or something like that, that's important to have the recipe down for that. But I think once you move beyond those style cocktails, I think the technique becomes almost more important than the actual recipes themselves, because if you think about it, the technique is what drives the recipe. I can give you a recipe all day long, you can make that recipe, but chances are pretty good you're not going to get the same produce that I do, right? You're not going to get the same quality of produce that I do. Yours might be better. Mine might be better. I don't know. But if we're getting different quality produce, then the outcome is going to be a different cocktail. The other important thing to think about is if you're not following the techniques that I'm using, then your outcome is going to be different. If you're shaking it, more than I am, less than I am, if you're stirring it more, if you're not stirring it enough, right? If the technique isn't there, then the recipe doesn't really matter. So I think the technique, especially when it comes to produce-driven cocktails, is extremely important. And the other important thing to mention there is you might not like your drinks exactly the way I make them. If I give you the techniques, right, then you can adjust the recipe yourself to make it exactly like you want. So I think that is something that a lot of people lose sight on. And the last thing to mention with this is that if you have the techniques, right, then at some point with all those techniques, instead of you just following other people's recipes, then you can start to make your own cocktails. And I think that that's a lot of people's end goal, is to learn how to make their own cocktails. And without the techniques for how to make these cocktails, you're going to be completely lost. You're just going to be pouring stuff in a glass until it tastes good. But when you learn the techniques, when you learn the foundation of how to make all these syrups, all of the oleosaccharides, how to char the pineapple, everything else, that's the basis for making cocktails. I can give you my smoked pineapple recipe, and it's a fantastic recipe, right? I absolutely love it. And you can make a great drink with it, right? But until you learn how to make the smoked pineapple recipe, you're just going to be at square one. So I think that I'll probably get roasted in the comments for saying that recipes don't really matter all that much, but I'm a big believer that recipes don't matter. I very rarely find recipes online that I actually like. I can't even think of the last time I looked at a recipe online, whether it be for cooking, or cocktails, that I made and I tasted and I actually enjoyed. I always tweak. As a perfect example, my sister-in-law is a recipe person. If she doesn't have a recipe, then she cannot cook anything, which good for her for following the recipes. That's great, stick with it, great, awesome. But ultimately, like, at some point, would she not want to be able to make her own food, And I guess she's content with that, but for me, I want to know why the recipe does the things the way that they do them, and that is all down to technique. So that's just a short video. I wanted to chat with you guys about something that I think is super important. So if you guys have any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to give us a big thumbs up. Please subscribe.